Hello, welcome to another track guide. This week it is the Nurburgring. Um, I apologise, it's been a couple of weeks without an upload. The last two tracks were Hungaroring and Kyalami. I didn't feel super confident at Hungaroring, so I didn't want to put a guide out that might have been wrong. I was just trying my best to get round there that week. Um, I need to probably revisit it at the end of the season and maybe do a track guide then when I've had a bit more time to practice it. And then Kyle Army is a complete drop round for me. It's not somewhere I've sunk any time into recently, so again, I couldn't put a track guide out confidently to tell people how to do something that I couldn't do myself. So I've skipped those 2 weeks and I'm onto the Nurburgring now. I have a lap that I'm pretty happy with. It is a 53.0. There is a 52 in there as well, but yeah, hopefully using this guide you might be able to improve your lap times and get close to mine or even beat my time. As long as it helps, I'm more than happy. Like I say, if you do find it useful, again, just give me a subscribe, like the video, really appreciate it, and let's get into the video. So we're going to get our lap prepped by going onto this curb here and then just going as wide as possible and getting on the power, trying to straight line it as much as possible. This track has very loose rear end in the McLaren, and then get ourselves over the start finish line. Now for the first corner we're going to use the 100 board as our braking marker. We want to be sort of at 100% brake as we hit this marker. Now, someone told me something quite important that helped me improve my lap times around here. It was Ben's, to be fair, as you probably all know him from the pit skill community. But brake earlier than you think you need to. So you might think, oh, brake at the 100, so you brake as you hit the 100, and it's too late. So hopefully you'll see what I mean. So I'm already at the 100 there. Let's just go as close to, yeah, see, I'm just about to get to the 100, but as you can see I'm already on the brake. So as we hit it, I'm basically at 100%. So stay to the left, gear down all the way into first, and then upshift to second early as you hit the apex so that you can power on immediately. Now this bit is the sector 1 at Nurburgring, no matter what car you're in, is super tricky. It's just lots of either off camber or flat surfaces where you try and put the power down and the rear steps out, and you've just got to balance it all the way through. My way isn't the quickest way, nor is it the slowest way, but what I find is that I'm able to replicate it a lot more each lap. So experiment with what you see and just go with it. So we're going to move ourselves out to the right a little bit to then bring ourselves back in. So up to second, stay in second, only a lift and a little dab of brake, like barely hitting it. You're just touching the brake just to try and get the car turned in. Because as soon as we hit this apex here, as you can see, I'm already back on the power. So again, there was a little bit of snap there, but you've just got to balance the steering, the throttle, all of it, and try and get through there with a high minimum speed is the goal, essentially. So don't go in there braking loads, slowing right down so that you can get on the power. You've just got to try and carry as much speed around that corner as possible. Now run it all the way out here. Your track limits are essentially like here. So as long as you keep your left tyres in this area, you're golden. Now, for me, my braking point for this next corner, you can see the tarmac. There's a line there that goes all the way back to the curb, and it's always that line is always there. And as that line starts to creep in, I start to get on the brake. So as you can see, I'm just about to hit the end of that line. So line's starting to end, I'm getting on the brake now, 100% brake. Down into first, and then use this curb here So this part here is really good at dragging you round, and again, this is another corner. You got to try and carry as much minimum speed through this corner as possible. Be careful of track limits, because it's very easy to get your wheel a little bit further there, and then your right wheel over there, and you've invalidated your lap. It's very easy to do that, but try and keep your minimum speed around that corner as high as possible. So we geared down into first, but then upshift to second early. As you can see, trying to keep that speed, just feather the throttle a little bit, little blip of power, and then little left right here. Again, another horrible corner there. So let's go back and go through it all. So maintain that minimum speed in second. It's a little bit more gentler on the power than first, but it still has that torque. Follow it round, bit of power. Now here you want to go like as you saw me do there, a little bit left before you go right, rather than sort of beelining it for the corner there. And then sort of hit the curb a little bit and use that as your apex to get on the full power and run it out wide. Your track limits are here. I believe it includes this line here. So this is quite a thick line, so as long as you can keep your right wheel within this bit, you're fine, because as you can see I go quite wide and it's still valid. And we're coming up to the next set of corners. Ignore the cones, they will be gone every time you race, but use the end of this exit route as your braking point here. So begin with this and then start experimenting with how much speed you're carrying, whether or not you can brake late for this bit or not. If you've got a really good exit from the previous corner, you probably want to go with this. If it's like a so-so exit, just go a little bit further out. So there's me hitting that point and then getting on the brake, and then we're gonna come off the brake a little bit earlier and roll through the corner. Again, power on. I've said this in every video, but power on at each apex, like the centre of the apex if you can. So there's the brake, we're turning in, trailing off the brake. As we get into the apex of the corner, full power, and then the braking, you want to go, again, this is another left-right, so try and get yourselves over there a little bit before we go into this corner, because this corner is deceptively early on the apex and the power. You're talking sort of, you're getting on the power around this point, whereas some people think it's around here, and it isn't. Your time in this sector is made up here. So braking points. So this one, as you can see, the AstroTurf it's a different shade up until about there, and then you've got an area here, and then you've got the curb. I basically brake. So I used to use this as my braking marker, but I found that was getting too late, so I brake probably just before it. So as you can see, I'm already getting on the brake and I haven't hit that point yet. So, and then you go in left into the middle of the track and then tuck in round. So I'll play it all in one go. Okay. So there's the braking point for here. Get into the middle of the track and then begin your turn in and hug this corner like it's your best friend. So try and keep this as much as possible. You're going to feel that the car dips and turns in at this point, and that's your power. So around here you're going to start. So as you can see, I'm already getting on the power, and it feels too early, doesn't it? Like when you're normally racing this, you think, oh, that's way too early, it's just going to send me out wide. But as long as you can control it, it's the optimum way through. So there's the power. I touched the gravel just a little bit here, try not to, but it, again, maybe it took 1,000th off me. That meant I could have got a 52 there, but tiny amounts. If you obviously dip a wheel into the gravel quite a lot, you're losing more time, but that was a touch, an audio touch, if anything. Now this this braking point. So you have this point here, where I believe like the curb is. I call it the curb. It's not really a curb, but you have that there, and that there. Now my braking point is sort of halfway, and then I experiment. If I have a really good exit, I might do halfway or a little bit closer to the corner. If I have a really poor exit, I know I can definitely brake there. But I use halfway through as like a braking reference. So we'll go. Sorry, got that completely wrong. I meant there's halfway point between this guttering here and the curb. Sorry, halfway between the guttering, and then experiment with braking after. So we're getting to halfway. There's the brake. Now this corner is quite tricky. It's basically a game of who can carry the most speed round. So there's the brake. Now, sometimes people go into here a little bit too hot, which is fine sometimes, and then you can sort of you can triangle it a little bit and power out. As long as at that point that you feel the car's beginning to turn back, full power there, like go full throttle, and you will power out of that corner fine. The optimum way through is to basically hug the corner to a degree. So a little bit wide, back on the power, and hug it round, carrying as much minimum speed as possible. Here, you want to smash your right wheel onto this curb and lose some tyre pressure, and then get your turn in, and then a little lift. I probably lifted too much, but probably you want to go down to like 50%, something like that, and then back on the power in an instant. So I'll play it in full speed. So yeah, you saw the lift. It wasn't a full lift. I shouldn't have lifted as much, but experiment with what works for you. Now be careful of this curb here. Try not to run onto this too much. I mean, you can obviously use this bit, but if you move the car further over, there is a horrible bump here, and if you hit it, it's game over. It spins you out, like the rear steps out left, and you're going over that way and having a bad time. Again, we're coming up to another tricky section of the track. Braking point, we're going to use the tarmac line that's quite prominent here. You can see that tarmac line there. We're going to brake just before it, so we're going to get on 100% brake as we hit that point. Experiment with your car and what it can do, but for me, again, it's all about braking earlier than you think you need to. So I used to brake 100% brake there, whereas I'm sort of 100% brake. Well, I'm getting on the brakes so that I am at 100% rather than applying the brakes there, as you'll see. So there's the brake, 100%, and then you're going to stay in third, maybe gear down to second if you're carrying too much speed, but upshift to third, like early shift to third to power out of the corner. Don't be afraid of this curb now. It is your it's your friend now, but you want to be wary of the power that pushes you out to the outside. So hug the curb, power on as you hit that apex again. Be careful of this exit. So your track limits are there. They're very harsh on the track limits of that bit. It's very well. I say harsh. It's just very easy to rush out wide here. A washout, as I should say. But yeah, be careful. So that was about it. Get your car back over to the left, and then there's quite a dark patch of tarmac here. We're just going to make sure we're braking a little bit earlier than that. So getting on the brakes, and then we're going to hug the corner. Maybe gear down to second if you're struggling to get the car slowed down, but again, it's just a tap of the brake. So yeah, full up to 100%, and then just feather it off really quickly, and then roll round, and then you're getting on the power earlier than you think. What I will say is, do not get up on this curb, like at all. It's so bumpy, it's horrible, it's going to kill you. It will absolutely kill you. But as you can see, I'm at full throttle right now, and it feels like I'm not at the apex of the corner. So that's how this corner works. Get on the power as early as possible, and it's going to wash you out. Well, it's going to run you out here. Be careful of getting on the power way too early and it pushing you really out. Again, you've got to balance the throttle, control the car, do what works for you. That's why staying in third for that point works. Whereas if you were in second, you probably have accelerated a little bit too hard, maybe lost traction at the rear. It might have just done enough to push you out towards the gravel. Just follow the track round. And here we go to the Sen chicane. Your braking point, guess. So experiment with braking halfway between, so at the 75 meter mark. Mine is closer towards the 50. Go with that first, and then just as you get braver, try. Go all the way up to the 50. Just see what works for you, because you might, try it to find where the limit is, because where your limit is, because I find it easier to go beyond the limit and then pull it back a little bit rather than braking sort of here and thinking, oh, how much further can I actually experiment with? I'd rather find the limit. So for me, it's going to be getting on the brake just after the halfway point, begin applying the brake so that we're at 100% as we hit the 50. Keep it straight for just a smidge. Touch this curb with your left wheel and then send it over the right hand side with your the right hand curb with your right wheels. So we're going to go straight a little bit. Touch it with your left wheel as you can see. Get your steering turn to the right. Get that weight shifted before you hit that right hand curb. Snap to the right, run over it with your right wheels. It's going to bounce you up. Well, actually, I'll show you where you get on the throttle as well. So coming off the brake, power on at this point. There you go, power, right, and then run it out there as much as you need to. Be careful of keeping your wheel on this curb and then going into the braking zone with it, because as you dip off there, you can lose the rear a little bit, and it can lose your time as well as like spin you out if you're not too careful. Braking point here is going to be, you can see this dark patch of tarmac again. I use that as like my braking line, I suppose. So get on the brake there. We're going to hug this corner a little bit. We're going to brake and give it a bit of a gap, because we're going to be turning into the gap that we leave. So don't immediately go to hug this bit. We're going to turn in and go in a straight line a little bit and then turn in with full power. So I've left a little bit of a gap, I've turned into it, and I'm getting on the power. Run it all the way out, and that is your lap complete. And that is basically it. I know I normally go over the what's it called? The pit stuff as well. So let's just do that quickly. So we'll go over your pit entry. So get up to here, brake. Oops. Try and carry as much speed around as possible. Now I have to thank Mr. Sergey for this. There's going to be some orange, there's an orange marker or like wall that you can see on your right hand side. You can't see it yet, but when you can see it, that's when you brake. So there's the orange, and we're going to get on the brake. Now that was a little bit early, so again, depending on how quickly you got out of that corner into the pits, experiment and see just where your more consistent point is, but always use that this orange wall here. So it might just be that you brake at that point at the end of the wall, and that's your pit as well. So I hope you enjoyed this track guide. If you found it useful, please leave a like I'm gonna leave you with the full lap in one big go. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. We're going to Bathurst, and yeah, we're gonna have lots of fun. See you next week.